Hey guys, Albe here once more with the BMW F800GS. Every so often I keep getting an email about my crossbar, asking where I got it, how much it cost, and on and on and on, what brand it is, and my answer is always, I made it myself, but I never explain how. So today I came around to actually make a video on how to build a crossbar, and I got myself a few supplies, so enough with the chit chat. Let's get on it. First thing first, what do you need to make yourself a crossbar? You need an aluminum bar, either solid like this one, which is literally a piece of solid aluminum, or an aluminum pipe like this one over here. This is about 1/2 inch in diameter, both of them. It's pretty much your choice. If you want the solid aluminum, it might be a little harder to actually manipulate it to make it fit, but if you have the right tools, it's not a big deal. If you choose the aluminum pipe, as I did, remember, being a pipe and being empty inside is not a big deal because the bar is not supposed to counteract forces going up and down, so this way. The bar is supposed to counteract forces pushing side to side, and no matter what this is made of, the tube is very strong if you apply pressure that way. Another benefit of using a pipe rather than a solid beam is it's easier to manipulate and shape it the way you want. On the one I made, I just had to press the sides together and they give you this nice look. You don't see any markings, it's just the tube that pretty much squishes in. So this was my choice, but if you want something more solid, something that can really take it, but that is also heavier, you can go for the solid bar. At that point you're gonna have to actually grind off the end to make it fit whatever you're gonna use to put the crossbar you just made onto the handlebars. In my case, I had those bark busters handguards, and I noticed that the top of the bark buster had about a 2 millimeter gap. I bent it so that my crossbar, it would fit in the gap. So now my handguards over here are also the attachment point from my crossbar, and everything is a solid piece. Now, what if you don't have the bark busters handguards? Well, first of all, go down there. There's gonna be a link so you can get yourself one of those. If not, if you already have the OEM handguards on the bike, what you can do is go to an AutoZone or any other automotive store and buy yourself one of those hose clamps. Those are automotive hose clamps. They got rubber, and I'm assuming this is stainless steel over here. And what you're gonna do with it is you can just put those around the handlebar and then clamp the crossbar onto those itself, so you don't really need to have anything else. Now, the strength of those is not the same as the strength on those bark buster clamps, but in a pinch this will do. As a matter of fact, if you go online and you try to buy a crossbar for the F800GS, I've seen some of them that actually come with those hose clamps. So let's measure the distance over here. Let's start cutting and banging and make a crossbar. Remember one thing, if you're using the bark busters, the bar is straight from this point to this point, but then it bends a little bit to fit the angle of the bark busters clamps over here. Another thing is, when you measure, remember to leave yourself some wiggle room, so about 1/4 inch or 5 millimeters if you're doing it in millimeters. This one is about, I would use 14.5 inches, or to be more accurate, I would use about 36.5 centimeters. Metric system, way easier. It's time to cut it up. If you have a vise, you can put this thing in the vise, then use a metal saw. That's it. At this point, get a file and file the edges. You can avoid to file the edges until the very end, but I just don't want it to grab on anything or to be sharp. So once you have the bar cut to size, if you're starting from scratch, there is going to be a lot of trial and error because you don't really know how far. Now, if you're using the hose clamps, that is not a big deal. Probably leave 20 millimeters on each side and you'll be okay, because those you can move around. When it comes to the bark buster, you have a definite length that you need to use. So go to the bike with this, set it up on it, see where in the bark buster clamp begins, mark it on both sides, and then get back to work. I already marked it, and so this is ready to go. And because this one is the tube, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start squishing it up. This is what I meant when I said that it's way easier with the tube, because what you do, you put this to the mark. If you have an hydraulic press, it's way better. If you only have a vise, that will do. If you don't have anything, you can grab a hammer and hammer it down. Once you squish it, it's pretty much done. One end is done. Let's do the other side. Here we go. The bar is pretty much almost done. So for the solid one, I'm gonna use an angle grinder. Goggles, ear protections, and let's start grinding. Once you're done grinding, it should look something like this. 2 millimeters there, and round it up. Now I'm gonna do only one side because I'm not gonna use it. And it took me, I don't know, 15 minutes to grind it to this point, smoothing the edges and everything else. So let's finish with this one. Let's go to the bike and let's put it on. See, if I put it in right now, I'm at a different angle and it's not getting there where it needs to be. So I need to actually bend it and make it fit. So I'm gonna grab a pair of pliers and I'm gonna start angling this the way I want it. Here we go. So the bar is now in. As you guys can see, there is a lot coming up on the sides, but that's just because if you guys look inside here, this one, it's flat right about here. So I grind the edges off, and now if we put it in, it goes in pretty good and it looks pretty good. We're almost done. The last thing we need to do is grab a pencil, put it in there, mark a hole. Once you have the two holes marked, it's time to drill a hole in it. I'll come back in a minute. Once you poke a hole through it, you just have to put it in and make sure that the hole is centered properly. One is, and the other one is too. So now this is in and it's solid. And now, since this is my old one, now I have a spare, I guess. Now, if you were going to do the solid bar, at this point, you have this thing to work in there. What you're gonna have to do is put it across, just we did before. measure the angle. Once the angle is measured, stick that in there, mark it, drill it, boom. And it's gonna take a little longer because it's harder to work with the solid one, but in the end, it's not gonna be a big deal. So if you're doing this, same procedure as with the tube. So once your bar is installed, you can even leave it bare like this and attach GPS, transponder, phone, or whatever. Or you can go online and buy yourself one of those rental pads, put it on, and now it looks like this is a professionally done job. For those of you that do not have bark busters, the only thing you need to do is to put one of those hose clamps on the end of the bar you just built. And those two hose clamps will do just fine, especially if you're using it for accessories. So we're done for today. You made yourself a crossbar. Now, if you have the bark busters, you install it just like I have it. If you don't have the bark busters, the only thing you need is two hose clamps and you have a crossbar to put there. And if you really want to get into it, if you really want it to be strong, you can build it with solid aluminum. It just takes a little bit more work. But as always, for anything I used in this video, check the description down below. If this video has been useful for you in building your own crossbar, please like the video, and for more work on the F800GS and on the other bikes behind me, subscribe. Till then, ride on, and I'll see you next time.